This is Path of Exile, and this is what I missed. Path of Exile, or PoE, is the spiritual successor to Diablo 2, and it is a fantasy action RPG set in the dark world of Rayclast. It's developed by a small independent team in New Zealand called Grinding Gears Games, and that's pretty cool. Best of all, it is free. I originally heard about PoE around the time that Diablo 3 was coming out, or had just came out, or something, and I was generally confused as to why anyone wanted, or at least needed, a spiritual successor to Diablo 2 when Diablo 3, its direct successor, was right here. Now that I've played Diablo 3 and I've finally put some time into Path of Exile, I understand why. Well, this game is flipping fun. Typically, when I'm playing a game for any sort of review, I'm constantly taking notes as I play. However, with Path of Exile, I got just a little too immersed and never really took any notes. However, I do have a good sharp memory and I remember some things to keep in mind. As far as gameplay is concerned, the combat in this game is addictive and hella fun. I've primarily played, the Huntress. I like using bows, in case my Tomb Raider addiction or character choice in Gauntlet didn't give that away. And the bow combat is just about everything I wanted it to be. Admittedly, using point and click for movement instead of WASD can be very tiresome on my mouse hand, because I'm almost constantly holding the left mouse button and moving. But I know some actually prefer that movement style for these types of games. Questing can be difficult until you get oriented with the game. It's quite easy to get lost on some of the maps. However, that explore until you get it dungeon crawling experience is, in part, what the game is all about. The mini-bosses aren't always that challenging as long as you find decent enough gear to continuously heal and restore your mana. But once you start leveling up, there are some bigger bosses that can be quite tricky if you're not careful. For some unknown reason, I am always expecting to be able to pick up loot by just clicking on its name as well as the item itself. However, the hitbox is very finicky and only allows for you to click on the item itself on the ground to pick it up. I find this to be an annoyance from time to time if I'm trying to pick up loot quickly mid-battle or just running around. Inventory managements, waypoints, towns, and sellers and vendors and storybooks are pretty much all just like Diablo, so most players will get used to it right away. There is a pretty hefty skill tree that players could, given the right amount of skill points, go any direction they like and cover a lot of buffs and skills. There are also certain enchantments which go into the sockets on your weapons and armor. These give you additional weapon skills and abilities. However, as a bow user, so far I've had a tough luck finding skills that work with my weapon, and when I do, I don't have any sockets of the right color, in my case green, to go for it. You can get charges that change the color of the sockets, but I'm close to level 9 right now and on this elf character, or this, bow character, and I've only acquired one to use. The game is based on multiplayer servers, so connection issues can cause desync, which results in enemies' health and attack taking a couple seconds to adjust and process every once in a while when there's a lag spike. Typically, there's just rubber banding and you deal with it, but sometimes I can just sit there shooting an enemy over and over, and it never takes damage until it catches up. Sound-wise, the sound in this game is very enjoyable. No real complaints here. Some of the voice acting is actually really well done. Graphically, this game honestly kinda looks like poop. Looks like an updated version of Diablo 2's graphics at least, but It's certainly tolerable and fits the dark fantasy theme in a consistent way, but nothing to blow you out of the water. That being said, top graphics aren't at all necessary for this kind of game, and it definitely doesn't suffer because of it. Business model wise, everyone knows the biggest issue these days with free-to-play games is that they're more free to pay. However, with Path of Exile, I never ran into a problem with their microtransactions. Granted, I've not actually made it to the end game on a character yet. That's not typically something I worry about. I did poke around the game store and saw some cool aesthetic stuff, but there was nothing I really felt I was missing out on by just sticking to playing for free. Overall, Path of Exile is a fun, addicting, free alternative to Diablo. I love dungeon crawlers and can't get enough of them, and it probably won't be too much longer before my game time in Path of Exile actually surpasses that in Diablo 3. This has been What I Missed, the pseudo-review show for games of the past which I've neglected to play. Want to see more videos like these? Subscribe to my channel. Want to support our content? Consider contributing to our Patreon campaign and giving a +1 on Google+. I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching.